Yo, what's happening, man? Welcome back to another episode of the Damn YouTube Sports Talk Show. This your boy Ralph Sneaks. Checking in with you, man. Episode was this 25 we on? Um Week 3 NFL recaps. But before we get to it, man, make sure you head over to YouTube, subscribe to the content, click the notification bell so you can get notified when new content drop. If you want to follow me over there on IG, the sports pages, damn underscore YouTube underscore sports talk. You can click the link in the bio. You subscribe to the content that way too. If you want to follow me on Instagram, my personal page is Ralph underscore sneaks. Head over to Twitter or X. X is what it is now. It's damn YouTube sports talk over there on X. Follow me, I follow back. Make sure you subscribe, man, so you can get this content. I really just be telling y'all shit that other people can't say or don't want to say or scared to say or whatever the case may be. But I mean, I'm just telling it to you real how I see it, calling it how I see it, how it really is. And a lot of people ain't gonna say it in this way, but I mean, it is what it is. That's how I talk. That's how I gotta, this how I gotta give my perspective on things. You know what I'm saying? Because that's how I see it. I can't talk how somebody else want to hear it, or I just gotta talk how I like to hear it and call it how I see it. And but just make sure you head over there and subscribe to the content, man, because it's uncensored sports talk. But we gonna get to it, man. Week 3 NFL recap. There was some good football this weekend. There was some surprise teams that won. There was some surprise losses. It was some unexpected things that happened in the NFL this weekend. But let me start the show off by saying, well, with this game here, because last week it was a lot of talk around the Carolina Panthers with Bryce Young, getting benched, Andy Dalton in, Bryce Young out. And let me just say this, because I know a lot of people in the media talk shit, but also a lot of people in the media don't watch Carolina Panther football. The Carolina Panthers don't have a huge fan base. They don't have a fan base like the Dallas Cowboys. They don't have a fan base like the Las Vegas Raiders. They don't have a fan base like the Steelers. They don't have a San Francisco 49er fan base. They don't have a New York Giant fan base. They don't have a Green Bay fan base. They don't have fan base like a lot of these other teams. Their biggest fan base is right there in the Carolinas. And even then, there's a lot of people in that area that's fans of other teams. You know what I'm saying? So a lot of people don't follow Carolina Panther football and haven't since Cam Newton stopped playing for them. So you can't sit there and listen to everybody in the media talk shit about Carolina, not paying attention and realizing and understanding what's going on over there. Yeah, they got issues. They got major issues. And their issues ain't solved after winning one game this weekend out in Vegas against the Raiders. But a lot of people talk so much shit about Carolina benching Bryce. See, as long as a team is continuing to be bad, and that's the clown show and the joke of the NFL, and people can get their jokes off and get their memes off and pop their shit off about them. As long as they still bad and not doing nothing to improve, to get better, to not be bad, people gonna clown them. But as soon as they do something to try to, get off of being the clown show, not being the laughing stock and joke of the NFL, now people want to talk shit about, how bad of a decision that was, this, that, and third. So let me just give y'all, I understand y'all seen the score if you follow, NFL through its entirety, which a lot of people don't. That's why they can't tell you about Carolina Panther football. But if you follow the NFL's entirety, Carolina won at Las Vegas this weekend, 36-22. Andy Dalton, who replaced Bryce Young. Bryce Young was benched, replaced by Andy Dalton. Andy Dalton started the game. Bryce was benched this week. Andy Dalton went 26 of 37, 319 yards, 3 TDs, and he was sacked twice. And he had a rating of 123.6. Now, need I remind you now, he did this and put these numbers up with the same exact guys that Bryce Young had. Bryce Young had these same guys in week 1 at the Saints, in which they got the hell beat out of them 47-10. Bryce Young had these same guys last week against the Chargers, in which they lost, I think, 26-3. So in 2 games with these same guys, Bryce Young was only able to put up 13 points in 2 games. Benching Bryce Young for Andy Dalton. Andy Dalton comes out there and they put up 36 points. Andy Dalton throws for over 300 yards, 3 TDs. Chuba Hubbard ran for over 100 yards rushing. And he had a receiving TD. So, first of all, let me say this. If you're the Carolina Panthers, this might be your new formula. Since you can't seem to get the guys in there to develop a quarterback, your formula might be, let's roll with a vet quarterback. Because like I always say, and I don't think I've said it on here before, but I've said this in private conversations with other people, it's easier for a veteran quarterback to coach up a young rookie or younger wide receiver than it is a veteran wide receiver to coach up a young quarterback. Let me say that again. It's easier for a veteran quarterback to coach up a young receiver than it is for a veteran receiver to coach up a young quarterback. This might be the formula Carolina need to go with. Because when Carolina is successful, for the exception of Cam Newton, he was the only one that I can remember in my recent memory that was a young quarterback that came in and had success and had longevity success with Carolina. All the other times Carolina's been successful, it's been more of a veteran-style quarterback. That might need to be the formula for Carolina. You just need to get young and stay young at the running back position, the wide receiver position, and sprinkle in a veteran or two in there, and, sprinkle in a veteran or two along that offensive line, and get you a veteran quarterback. Because you don't have the people over there to develop a young quarterback. So that might be the formula for Carolina. That might be the identity they need to go out. It's sticking more with a veteran quarterback and get young at the wide receiver position, in the running back position, and sprinkle a vet or two along that offensive line and stack up on their defense. That may be the route they need to go. Because like I said, the success that Carolina's having, it's been coming from veteran quarterback play, for the exception of Cam Newton. So that may be the route that they need to go. So all these people out there in the media, they ain't going to backpedal and apologize for benching Bryce Young. They talked all that shit about Bryce Young getting benched. But what the hell did Bryce Young do in the first 2 weeks with the same damn weapons Andy Dalton had Sunday and went out there and threw for over 300 yards? They didn't get a whole new offense in a matter of a week time for Andy Dalton that they didn't have for Bryce Young when he was out there. Same damn players, same offensive line, same running back, same wide receiver. I mean, it was so bad. I mean, Sunday was so good that Carolina defense came out and played. Although they gave up 22 points, but don't let that be, the final score indicate how the defense played. Everybody seemed to have a different body language Sunday on both sides of the ball. The offense had damn good body language. The defense had damn good body language. The wide receivers showed great body language. The chemistry was there from a veteran quarterback. Throws were being made. The timing on the plays were there. That just comes from a veteran QB being in the league, knowing how to throw guys open, knowing how to get the ball in smaller windows, seeing a lot of coverage that Bryce Young ain't seen, knowing how to slide the protection along the offensive line, knowing how to step up in the pocket, knowing the situation where you can't take a sack here, you got to get X amount of yards on this play. If this ain't here, that ain't there, you got to go through your progressions. Throw the ball away when it ain't there. That's the knowledge that you get from a veteran quarterback. That's why I said that a veteran quarterback can teach up a young wide receiver better than a veteran wide receiver can teach up a young quarterback. Now you got to understand that they got Cincinnati coming up this weekend. Cincinnati sitting at 0-3. Cincinnati just took an L last night on Monday Night Football to the Washington Commanders. I'm not saying that Carolina is about to be a team to be reckoned with, but what I am about to say is Now you're starting to see more phases of the game open up for Carolina because they got a quarterback back there that can actually get the ball down the field and get this offense moving, pick up first downs, and convert those drives into points, whether it's a field goal. And a lot of times they converted and got in the end zone. They made the throws that had to be made. Now I don't want to hear nothing about it was the Raiders, this, that, and the third, because a lot of the media was out there just praising the Raiders after they came off that road victory at the Baltimore Ravens. They was out there talking about the Ravens. They was talking about how good the defense is. They was talking about how Gardner Minshew was looking pretty solid. So I don't want to hear nothing about that from certain people in the media. They was just upping and praising the Las Vegas Raiders after they came back and won at Baltimore. But now what I'm saying is, if Carolina can get that run game going with Chuba Hubbard, and like I said, he had over 100 yards rushing and a receiving touchdown Sunday, they can get that ground game going. I'm not saying they're gonna be a team to reckon with because they still got a ways to go. But what I am saying is, all them jokes and memes, you're gonna start to see that shit go away. Because this team had the capabilities to be 1-1 or should be 2-1. That's all I'm saying. Is now that you got a quarterback that can make those throws, a veteran quarterback that can make those throws, that now is going to open up the run game for Carolina. Because they just can't tee off on the run game because they're not worried about the quarterback play no more. See, when Bryce was back there, they didn't worry about Bryce Young picking you apart. They didn't worry about Bryce Young making those throws. So they were just able to focus and stuff the run game because they wasn't worried about Bryce. But now you got a veteran quarterback back there that can throw guys open. You got a veteran quarterback back there that can teach guys up. You got a veteran QB back there that can slide protections and make throws and know situational football. They can't just tee off and stuff and sell out the stuff to run. Now this can open up the run game. Now this money that they spent on the offensive line in this offseason, which is I think what Dave Canales wanted to do when he took the job, he wanted to open up the run game so they can take some pressure off Bryce so Bryce can be at ease. But Bryce wasn't able to do that because they were just teeing off and stuffing the run and putting everything on and forcing Bryce to make plays that he couldn't make. Now you can't do that. So now it's going to open up the run game some more. Like I said, I'm not saying that Carolina's about to go off and be a team to be reckoned with, this, that, and third. I ain't saying that. But what I am saying is Carolina is now going to look better. Now, I didn't think that Carolina's going – when I said Carolina ain't going to win no games, I'm not saying they literally going to win 0 games, go 0-17. No, they're going to win some games. But you can start to see now more of what they could be or what they should have been. Now, if you go back and look at it, ain't no telling how many games they could have possibly won if they had started Andy Dalton and just let Bryce sit and learn for a year or two. Maybe they wouldn't have been 2-15 last year. Because I think the only start that Andy Dalton had last year was at Seattle. Bryce missed the game due to an injury, and they held him out for precautions. So Andy Dalton got the start. I think that was last year at Seattle, if I'm not mistaken. They lost that game, but in losing that game, Andy Dalton, if I'm not mistaken, had 300 yards passing in that game. So ain't no telling how many games they would have won if they had to just let Andy Dalton, a vet QB, get them through the season and let Bryce sit and learn for a year or two. I don't think they would have been 2-15. But needless to say, they came out on the road. They beat the Raiders. They looked energized on both sides of the ball. They came out, and the energy and the body language is completely different this week than it was the previous two. Now you got the defense feeling a little bit rejuvenated because they know the offense is not going to go 3 and out. They know the offense is not going to turn the ball over and put them in a compromising position and have their backs up against a wall defensively. They know they can sit on the sideline and catch a breather. They know they can sit on the sideline and strategize because they now got a veteran QB in there that's going to at least move the chains and give them a breather. They know they got a quarterback in there now, a veteran that's not going to have ill-advised turnovers. That's not going to have them in a situation. Now, you're going to have turnovers. It's the NFL. All quarterbacks, all players, they have a turnover here and there. But this a veteran quarterback shouldn't be having them making those rookie mistakes and having them type of turnovers. So now you got Andy Dalton in there. You're not going to have the type of turnovers that you were having with Bryce Young because as a vet, he know better. You're not going to have drives where you're constantly going 3 and out. You're going to at least move the chains a couple times. You're going to punt the ball. It's the NFL. You're not going to always just go down the field each drive. You're going to pick up some first downs here and there, and then the drive's going to stall or whatever, and then you're going to have to punt with it. So you're going to have that. But now the point I'm making is now you got the defense. Body language is different because they know they ain't got to go out there every 3 to 4 plays because the offense is stalled. It's a turnover, 3 and out. So now you got the body language is better from everybody. Now Adam Thielen done suffered a hamstring injury, but the body language is better from everybody. It's like guys know now we're starting to see what we're capable of doing. And it's no knock against Bryce. It's just the fact that, he has to sit and learn. And Bryce ain't the only one that's got to sit and learn. It's bad quarterback play. You can go throughout the league and pick and point out bad quarterback play. Yeah, you can argue and say Caleb Williams ain't did shit in the first 3 weeks. He had a solid game this past week against the Colts, but it came in a losing effort. But the first 2 wasn't good. So you can go and pinpoint. And I understand Bryce is Bryce in his second year and Caleb is a rookie, but still you can go and handpick through the league and see that these first 3 games it's been bad quarterback play throughout. You know what I mean? So Bryce ain't the only one that's playing bad. His other quarterbacks is playing bad too. It's just that Bryce is probably playing the worst, but there's other guys out there at the quarterback position that ain't playing well either. So it's not a bad idea for him to sit and learn, especially when you got a veteran quarterback like Andy Dalton. Andy Dalton, in my opinion, he ain't no slouch. I'm not saying he's the best, but he ain't no slouch. They were winning games when he was in Cincinnati as a starting quarterback with Marvin Lewis. They were making the playoffs. They just weren't winning when they got to the playoffs, but they were winning games in the regular season to get in the playoffs when him and Marvin Lewis was together in Cincinnati. So Andy Dalton ain't a bad quarterback, especially if you got him as your vet. So that ain't a bad quarterback to sit behind and learn. It's not like Carolina is in a situation where they don't have a veteran quarterback, where they got Bryce Young, and then they got like a 3rd or 4th year quarterback. So that 3rd or 4th year quarterback is still, to some degree, maybe going through a slight learning curve. So what the hell can Bryce learn from a 3rd year quarterback? Hell, a 3rd year quarterback is still competing for a starting job. So what the hell is he going? What the hell can he learn? Bryce pick up. They in a QB competition. So that ain't a bad idea for what Carolina's doing, despite all the shit that a lot of people in the media talk. But let them tell it. They ain't gonna tell it to you like this. They gonna talk about how bad the organization is, which it is to some degree. But they talking about how bad of a move this was to sit Bryce. See, now what they can't do is see what they ain't gonna tell you and what they thinking is, because they ain't gonna tell you this. That's why I'm here telling it to you, because they ain't gonna damn tell you. See, they thinking that Carolina's gonna continue to be the laughing stock, and they can get their jokes and pop their shit off every week about a clown show and what a joke it is over there in Carolina. But at some point, you got to change something if you want a different result. Now, if you want to keep being the clown show and keep losing games, this, that, and third, just keep going with what you was doing. But as soon as you want to stop the bleed and stop being the joke and stop being the clown show, you got to change up what you was doing. And that's what they did. They sat Bryce and they put in Andy Dalton. And as a result, they got to win. As a result, the offense looked better. As a result, the defense looked better. As a result, the team overall looked better on the road at the Raiders. Now, like I said, they got Cincinnati coming up this weekend. Now, if they can go in there and do the same thing this week that they did out there in Vegas, I think they'll win 2 in a row. Especially if they can get the ground game going. And looking at what I saw from Cincinnati last night, I think Carolina can carry this momentum over coming back home against the Cincinnati Bengals this weekend with Andy Dalton playing his former team. I think that they can get the ground game going. Now, can they hold up on the on defense? We'll see. But if they can get the ground game going, if they can get that offense moving the ball down the field like they did, and they can get that defense playing rejuvenated football and get that high energy in their body language up, then that's a good chance they can win 2 in a row and get to 500. But that wouldn't be a good look for Cincinnati, who lost last night to the Washington Commanders, because Washington was able to run the ball. Now, if you Cincinnati, I don't know what the hell you got going on, but you sitting at the bottom of the division at 0-3, and you looking up at Pittsburgh, who is 3-0. That ain't how they drew that shit up. That is not how they drew that up. Now, I don't know if T. Higgins is 100%, but I don't know, bro. I don't know. Is it defensively? I think they took a hit defensively if you Cincinnati, because you lost some defensive pieces, and the ones you replaced it with wasn't quite on the level of what you lost. So I don't know. Cincinnati, you sitting at the bottom of the division, you 0-3. You looking up at Pittsburgh, who's 3-0, with Justin Fields, who, by the way, let me point this out. Justin Fields is starting because Russell Wilson, who won the quarterback job in the preseason, he won the quarterback job, couldn't go week 1 at Atlanta. Justin Fields got the start, won in Atlanta. Then they went on the road and beat Denver, which ain't saying a lot. Although Denver just beat Tampa, but that ain't saying a whole lot. They beat Bo Nix, and then they came back home and beat the LA Chargers this past weekend. So they 3-0 with Justin Fields. And Justin Fields wasn't even supposed to be the starter. It's supposed to be Russell Wilson, but Russell Wilson couldn't go week 1 due to an injury. So they just been riding Justin Fields out. And I think that's what they're going to do. They're going to continue to ride out Justin Fields. Because they sitting 3-0. I didn't think they were going to start the season 3-0. And I damn sure didn't think Cincinnati was going to start the season 0-3. So if you Cincinnati, you got to fix some shit. You got to find out what the hell is going on. And I think a lot of their problems is on the defensive side of the ball. Now, it was hard to say because, in my opinion, Washington, defensively, especially in the secondary, they got issues in the secondary. But I think they do just enough to win games, and that's what they did last night. They held Cincinnati off just enough to win a game because Jaden Daniels, he had a good game. He made some plays when he had to make them. He scored. He made some throws when he had to make them. They had some guts in play calling, and they converted. So I think what Cincinnati issues right now is mainly on the defensive side of the ball because, like I said, what they gave up defensively and replaced it with wasn't as good as what they gave up. You got T. Higgins on the franchise tag. You got Jamar Chase. He held out to get his money, which he ain't got it yet, but he going to eventually get it, and then Joe Burrow's getting paid. I think their issue was on the defensive side of the ball. Now, if Cincinnati goes to Carolina and lay egg down there and go to 0-4, this shit is over. I'm going to go ahead and tell you now, this shit is over. And I think if they don't get their shit together, that's a damn good chance that could happen. Because what I think is going to happen is they got a young coach down in Dave Canales down there in Carolina. I think they're going to ride this momentum that they won last week, especially beating the team that came off the previous week, beating the Baltimore team. They went to Vegas, had a quarterback change, and the offense looked night and day compared to what it was when Bryce was under center with the same players. So now this team is believing and seeing what they could do. Like I said, Adam Thielen went down a hamstring injury. I don't think he's going to be ready for the Cincinnati game. But like I said before, a veteran quarterback, they got a week practice. A veteran this ain't a game time decision. Now, they know that Adam Thielen went out in the game. So they know they got to get this next guy ready. They got a week to do it. They're at home. They don't have to travel. They're at home. They got a week to do it to get this next guy ready to go. A veteran quarterback, in my opinion, can teach up a young receiver better than a veteran receiver can teach up a young quarterback. That's my theory. And that's what I think they're going to ride this momentum into Cincinnati. If Cincinnati ain't careful, they can go down there. They go down to Charlotte and they can go down there and head back to Cincinnati 0-4. You know what I'm saying? So this is the territory that Cincinnati got to be real careful about. Cincinnati got to be clicking on all cylinders. Cincinnati can't come in there and think that, oh, it's Carolina, they won one game. But guess what, Cincinnati, you ain't won one yet. You 0-3. You can't go down there to Charlotte and half-ass this weekend. You got to go down there and play, because if you go to 0-4, this shit is over. I'm here to tell you that now. This shit is over if you Cincinnati, if you drop the 0-4. So you got that going on if you Cincinnati. Hats off to Jayden Daniels. You know, he was 21 or 23. He only had 2 incompletions last night, 254 yards, 2 TDs, and he got sacked twice. He had 12 rushes, 39 yards, and a touchdown. I think 12 rushing attempts, like I said on previous episodes, is a little bit too much for Jayden Daniels, in my opinion. I think they need a even though Brian Robinson had 16 rushes, he only had 33 yards. So I think what they need to do is they need to open up the run game some more. So Jayden Daniels, I don't know why I keep calling him McDaniels, but Jayden Daniels, so he won't have to rush 12 times. He had more rush attempts than Austin Ekeler, and I understand Austin Ekeler left the game because he had concussion. But at that point, Austin Ekeler only had 3 rushes, 35 yards. So you know, Jayden Daniels, I think his frame is not big enough to be rushing the ball 12 times. In my opinion, that's just me. I think they need to scale back. I'm not saying don't utilize Jayden Daniels' legs at all, because he is a mobile QB. He can make some things happen with his leg. So you definitely want to exploit that, but I don't think you need to do it 12 times. You know, I think you need to scale back on his running. You know, and open up your run game, establish your run game, so you won't have to utilize his legs as much with his frame. You don't want nothing to happen to him. That's second overall pick. You don't want nothing to happen to him. So 21 or 23, 254 yards. Like I said, Cincinnati defensively. Jay McDaniels, as a rookie, only had 2 incompletions last night. 254 yards passing, 2 TDs. He was sacked twice. That's why I'm saying Cincinnati, you got defensive issues. You got defensive issues. It's to the point now where Cincinnati has to go out there on the offensive side of the ball with Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase and T. Higgins and in the crew out there offensively and go down the field, because they can't afford to be slumping on the offensive side of the ball. Because if they slump on the offensive side of the ball, I mean, they sitting at 0-3 now, you know, but they can't afford to be slumping on the offensive side of the ball, because now the defense is not as good as it was. You know, although they had a good competitive game at Kansas City, and, you know, that pass interference, you know, would bail them out. You know, they played Kansas City tough. Then you come back and you get beat by Washington. In week 1, you open up and losing to New England. So they got to fix some things on the defensive side of the ball. But Joe Burrow, he was 29 of 38, 324 yards, 3 TDs, and he was also sacked twice. Chase Brown, 7 attempts, 62 yards. Zach Moss, 12 attempts, 58 yards. You know, Jamar Chase had over 100 yards receiving. T. Higgins, 3 receptions, 39 yards. You know, you do it. You put up 33 points offensively. That should be enough points to win the game, but you gave up 38. So that's what I'm saying about Cincinnati. They got to fix some defensive issues over there in Cincinnati. Like I said, they go to Carolina this weekend. And if they don't got that shored up, I think Carolina riding the momentum of coming off of victory at the Las Vegas Raiders could come out there and carry this momentum over and beat them. They should look to exploit the run game. I think Carolina now should be able to get a little bit more of the run game going. You know, you're looking at Cincinnati's defense. They look vulnerable. You know, so if they ain't careful, they can go down there and slip up and fall to 0-4, and Carolina can move to 500, 2-2. But Jaguars at the Bills, that was also a Monday night game. The Jaguars got all kinds of hell beat out of them last night in Buffalo, 47-10. And now you're looking at Jacksonville. Like, what the hell is going on? Is it Doug Peterson? Is it the coaching? Because if you look at Trevor Lawrence, he was 21 to 38, 178 yards. That's a TD and a pick, and he was sacked 4 times. What the hell is going on down in Jacksonville? You just paid Trevor Lawrence all that goddamn money. You brought in Gabe Davis. Christian Kirk still there. Evan Ingram, the tight end, is there. So you got weapons. ETN's there. Bigsby, Tank Bigsby, he's there. You got weapons on the offensive side. But what the hell is going on in Jacksonville? Is it all defense? It looked like it's the whole damn team because I understand Buffalo is good, but damn, you only put up 10 points. I think last week you only put up 10 points. It was 10 or 13 points when you lost to Cleveland. I think it was 18-10 or either 18-13, something like that. You lost at home to Cleveland. So you're struggling offensively. I don't know why. I don't know, bro. Maybe it's Doug Peterson. At the beginning before the season started, and I was telling you, I was going through my divisions, division winners or whatever, and I was trying to figure out why Jacksonville, is struggling so bad, or why would they struggle when they got the more experienced head coach, Doug Peterson, who won a Super Bowl. He's more experienced than Callahan in Tennessee. He's more experienced than the head coach over there in Indy. I can't think his name now. He's more experienced than DeMeco Ryans in Houston. He has a Super Bowl. Those other guys don't. He's been there. He's won a Super Bowl. Those other guys haven't. But as a head coach, you got the more experienced quarterback. He's more experienced than Stroud. I'm not saying he's better, but he's more experienced than Stroud. Stroud is only in his second year. He's more experienced than Will Levis. He's more experienced than Anthony Richardson. So if you are the Jacksonville Jaguars, what the hell is going on over there? There's no way in the hell you should be having 38 pass attempts for only 178 yards. What the hell are you doing? Like I said, Buffalo playing good ball. I get it. It was Buffalo on the road at Buffalo, but 10 points. Come on, man. You're paying Trevor Lawrence all this damn money. So now you're probably gonna be looking at the coach. And a lot of times that's what I say, man. I think that a lot of these coaches, these recycled coaches, that is, I think the game is evolved, especially with the young players and the way that they coming in and the systems and the schemes that's going on in the NFL right now around the league. I think these young players benefit from somebody younger. They the style of play. And I'm not saying Doug Peterson is not up to par on what he's doing, but it don't seem like it. I think a lot of these young players, a lot of these schemes that they running is not what these older coaches want. I think a lot of these younger players like these schemes from these younger head coaches. But if you Jacksonville, you paying all this damn money to Trevor Lawrence and you only putting up 10 points. Like, what the hell? You throwing for 178 yards, and I get it. The quarterback play around the league it ain't been lights out of what it should be, to start this season, first 3 weeks of the season. But Trevor Lawrence is making all this goddamn money and you're putting up 10 points. Like, what the hell is going on? I don't get that. I really don't. I mean, 5 years, 275 million, 55 a year. He's top 3 paid quarterback in the league. And you go to Buffalo and you get all kinds of hell beat out you like this, 47-10. Trevor Lawrence ain't no rookie. I mean, you got some playmakers on the offensive side of the ball. I mean, what the hell happened? You brought in Gabe Davis. You got Christian Kirk there. ETN still there. Evan Ingram there. So you got legitimate options on the offensive side of the ball that you could move the ball with. I don't know. I can't figure this shit out of you, Jacksonville. At some point, and then you spent money on Tyson Campbell. You got Trayvon Walker up front, and you got Josh Allen up front. So, I don't know. But Buffalo last night, 47-10 win. You had Josh Allen, 23 of 30, 263 yards. He had 4 TDs, 6 attempts, 44 yards. James Cook, 11 attempts, 39 yards in a TD. And James Cook, 4 receptions, 48 yards. So you utilizing James Cook in both ways, running the ball and pass catching the ball. So you're now spreading the ball around. See, if Buffalo, this is what I thought would happen once you lost Stephon Diggs. I thought you was gonna tap into Josh Allen more. Now they doing it because the ball is now being spread around. And he's spreading the ball around. He's not really going to one guy 10 times a game. He's spreading the targets around to all these other guys. And he's getting the run game involved, whether it be himself or James Cook, because now they're utilizing James Cook both ways, running the ball and catching out the backfield. So when you got a guy like that who can do both, you got to use him both ways, especially when you don't really have a true number one target. So that's exactly what's going on in Buffalo. They spreading the ball around. There's not one guy that's just seeing 10, 12 targets a game. They're utilizing the run game with Josh Allen and James Cook. And James Cook is also being utilized as a receiver too. So if you Buffalo, this is the formula you need to keep going by. Because there's nobody that they can just zone in on, because you can now kind of get everybody in the offense involved. You don't have to force feed a certain guy or guys. You know what I mean? You can just spread the ball evenly out throughout the offense. So if you Buffalo, you just beat the hell out of Jacksonville. You did what you had to do. And if you Jacksonville, you got question marks all over the damn place. You got to fix this shit ASAP. Because if you're paying a quarterback $275, some got to give. And like I said, you can point out bad quarterback play throughout the NFL to start this season out. But this right here in Jacksonville, they got to get on top of this. They got to fix this. I don't know if they're going to look to move off of Doug Peterson. But like I said, he's the most experienced coach in the division, and Trevor Lawrence is the most experienced quarterback in the division. So they got to do something if they Jacksonville. But moving on, Chiefs Falcons Sunday Night Football. Chiefs ended up winning that one 22-17. But it was some controversy, as most Kansas City Chiefs close games are. There was a no pass interference called in the end zone on Pitts. I forget the guy. He interfered with Pitts in the end zone. No flag was thrown. No call was made. And then you go 4th and 1 or 4th and inches, and instead of going right at the defense, you go and run 5 yards, 6 yards to the outside, and you end up losing yardage and turn the ball over on downs. But if you were Atlanta, you sitting 1 and 2. You really could be. You really could make a case that you should be 0 and 3, because I hate to say if. But we look at that last week's Monday night game in which they were at Philadelphia and Saquon dropped the pass. If he just catches that pass and he's going to get that first down, that game will essentially be over. And Atlanta would have failed to 0-2. Then losing to Kansas City, they would have, dropped to 0-3. So, I think what Atlanta is right now, because they're not really utilizing, Kyle Pitts in the way I think they should be using him. If you got a tight end like Kyle Pitts that's as athletic as Kyle Pitts and can be a mismatch like Kyle Pitts, I think they should be utilizing him all over the formation. Depending on they should have mismatches all over the place with Kyle Pitts. Kyle Pitts should not only be a tight end. I mean, if you can put him in the slot and be a mismatch, put him there. If you can put him on a linebacker at the tight end position, put him there. If you can split him out wide, and now you got two big ass receivers with Drake London and him, you do that. Kyle Pitts, in my opinion, with this offense, should be getting more targets. But see, that's the thing about it is when you have an offense like Atlanta, because I think Darnell Mooney it should get targets. Drake London should get targets. Kyle Pitts should get targets. Bijan Robinson should get targets. Then you got a good second backup in Tyler Algier. So you got a lot to go around if you're in Atlanta. Kirk Cousins, 20 or 29, 230 yards, a TD a pick, and 2 sacks. Tyler Algier, 7 attempts, 32 yards. Bijan Robinson, 16 attempts, 31 yards, and a TD. So they couldn't really get the ground game going. Drake London, 6 receptions, 67 yards on 9 targets. Darnell Mooney, 8 for 66. Kyle Pitts only had 2 receptions, 59 yards, and one of them was a 50-yard. So outside of that 50-yarder, he only had another reception for 9 yards. And that just can't cut it if you Kyle Pitts. So like I said, Atlanta, the front end of their schedule was kind of tough, But it gets to the midpoint of the season, it kind of lightens up, and then the back end of the season gets lighter. But you can't really go by that now because if you Atlanta, you don't want to dig yourself in a hole where you have to spend the easy part of your schedule getting out of the hole versus spending the easy part of your schedule pulling away in that division. That's a big difference. If you get down early in the season and then the schedule gets easy as the season goes, now you have to take those games that are light on your schedule and use those games to pull yourself out of a hole you dug yourself in early in the season. That's not really what you want to do. You kind of want to take those easy games and use them as games to kind of pull away in the division. But you still got 2 against Tampa, 2 against Carolina, 2 against the Saints. And I think they got the Saints coming up this weekend. So there's going to be another tough one. I'm not sure where that game at, but it's going to be another. It's always a close one between Atlanta and New Orleans. But you don't want to do that. You want to come out the gate clicking and firing on all cylinders. And like I said, man, a lot of this got to do with a lot of people not playing preseason games. So those first game or 2 they come out in the season, they got to build chemistry because they sat out the whole preseason. And I understand guys deal with injuries, and I understand the part that you don't want to get your key guys hurt, this, that, and third. But you still got to get some type of chemistry in because there's so much movement in the offseason. You got draft picks coming in. You got players that you brought in free agency. So you got guys that you still got to build some chemistry with, and you don't want to use the season to build a chemistry. That's what you want to use preseason to practice for. You want to get guys out there and get them going in the preseason, not play them the whole game, but play them a quarter, or half a quarter at least, and play them the first series, after halftime to execute a drive coming out after halftime. I think that's what they need to do, and you don't want to be digging yourself into an early hole and then using the back end of the schedule or midway through the schedule to dig yourself out of a hole that you dug yourself in early. And, you can't even always go by that because a lot of times teams start to become better than you thought they were going to be as the season goes. There's always going to be a surprise team each season that does better than what you think. And now you get down to the stretch of the season and you don't control your own destiny no more. You got to depend on another team to help you out. But if you had to took care of some of your business in the beginning of the season when you was digging yourself in a hole, that wouldn't be the case down the stretch. But needless to say, Kansas City 22-17, it always seems like the refs is in the favor of Kansas City. Like I always say, y'all, Kansas City Chiefs is the new version of what the New England Patriots was. It's kind of funny and crazy that when Tom Brady left New England and went down to Tampa, the Kansas City Chiefs was ready to take over as that next team that New England was in the AFC. They're getting all the calls in their favor. As a result, you see them back-to-back Super Bowl champs going for the three-peat. They're getting all, like I said, they're getting all the calls in their favor. If you look at it, Andy Reid is the new version of Belichick, except Belichick was a defensive guy. Andy Reid is an offensive guy. You look at Pat Mahomes is a new version of what Tom Brady was. The overall team is just the version of what the New England Patriots was. They starting to play they good defense, playing good defense. And then you look at Kelsey is what the version of what they had in Gronk, if you want to equate the two. And if you look at the wide receivers, outside of Randy Moss in New England, you really can't name another star-studded receiver that they had. They just had good players that come in and play their role. Outside of Kansas City receiving what they had in Tyreek Hill, you probably can't name another star-studded receiver. They just have guys that come in and play their role within their offensive scheme. And Pat Mahomes is quarterbacking that thing up with the receivers he got, the same way Tom Brady quarterbacked that thing up in New England with the receivers he had. Life after Randy Moss in New England, they still were successful. Life after Tyreek Hill in Kansas City, they're still successful. So that's what they're doing. That's the new version. That's the new NFL's version of what the New England Patriots was in both AFC teams. So they just keep finding a way to win games, and they getting a lot of help from the refs the same way you can say that the New England Patriots was to some degree. And you can go back, do your homework, look at it. The Tuck rule was one of them. But we ain't gonna get in all that. We're gonna keep moving. The Chiefs defeated the Falcons in Atlanta 22-17 Sunday night. The Ravens at Cowboys. The Ravens 28-25 over the Cowboys, even though they had a bigger lead than that, and they just let their foot off the gas, and the Cowboys made a run towards the end and fell short. If you're the Dallas Cowboys, you fall to 1-2. What the hell do you do? Because now, first let's look at the stats here. Lamar Jackson, 12-15, 182 yards and a TD. It's not lights out. It's not wowing you. But Derrick Henry had 25 attempts, 151 yards. Basically, what that's telling me is that they were confident that they could run the ball on the Dallas Cowboys. Now, what that's saying to anybody that's playing Dallas that's got a serviceable run, a good enough run game, they feel like they can do the same thing. If you Dallas, you got to get in there. You got to show up that defense. Lamar Jackson even had 14 rush attempts. Lamar Jackson, 14 rush attempts, 87 yards. He had just as many rush attempts as pass attempts. He had 15 pass attempts and 14 rushing attempts. 182 yards passing and 87 yards on the ground. He had a passing TD and a rushing TD. There's not really it wasn't a lot of targets. Bateman had 4 targets. Nelson Aguilar had a target. Derrick Henry had a target. Zay Flowers had 4 targets. Isaiah Likely 1 target. I think that's one guy, and I keep saying they got to get that guy more involved. Isaiah Likely, he's an athletic tight end, and similar to Kyle Pitts, he's a mismatch. You could put him on the line as a tight end, and get him mismatched up on the linebacker. You put him in the slot, get him mismatched, or spread him out wide when you get in the red zone for 50-50 jump balls. You could utilize the guy in so many ways. I just think they got to get this guy more involved. Isaiah Likely. You look at Isaiah Likely, the more time he get, you just got to get this guy involved. I mean, the guy is 6'4", 240, 245, 246, something like that. You know what I'm saying? Why the hell are you not getting a 6'4" guy involved? And if you had to pinpoint one weakness or one area that they need to get strengthened up in, if you're the Baltimore Ravens, is the wide receiver corps. So if you got a guy that's 6'4", that can catch the ball, that can be a mismatch on a linebacker because he's athletic. He can be a mismatch on DBs because he's 6'4". Line him up in the slot or line him up out wide. Wherever you got to line him up in the formation to get the mismatch that you need, get this man the ball. 1 target, 1 catch for 4 yards, that ain't cutting it. That's not utilizing a 6'4" guy. And like I said, if you had to pinpoint something out about the Baltimore Ravens, a weakness or whatever, you could point at the passing game. And you got one guy that's 6'4", 240-something pounds, that can be a mismatch wherever you put him at, and you only giving him 1 target. That's not going to get it. Dallas Cowboys, you fall to 1-2. If you look at it, the Dallas Cowboys, they sit down at the bottom of their division. Technically, they have the same record as the New York Giants, but they have the Cowboys listed as last in the division. You're looking up at the Washington Commanders at 2-1, the Eagles 2-1, the Giants 1-2, and then you got the Cowboys sitting down there 1-2. You got to be wondering what the hell is going on. And I told y'all coming into the season that Mike McCarthy was one of my coaches that was on the hot seat. And then you get a lot of Cowboy fans that say, well, who are you going to get that's better? Is that at some point, first of all, if you're the Dallas Cowboys, you got to stop looking at names. You got to get a coach that's fit where the NFL is going. Mike McCarthy does not fit where the NFL is going. Mike McCarthy from his days in Green Bay when he had a Super Bowl with Aaron Rodgers. But since then, he's not really done much. A lot of these guys are living off their name. And I think the Dallas Cowboys is one of those franchises that's going to go after a recycled coach, a recycled yes man coach. You just inked that Dak Prescott to $60 million deal. You got CeeDee Lamb inked in. You're going to have to get Michael Parsons inked in. Now, I'm not saying they can't turn the season around, but a 1-2 start to the season is not what they expected. But if you Baltimore Ravens, you got to be glad you came out of there with your first win because you didn't want to fall to 0-3. And you did not want to be down there with the Cincinnati Bengals looking up at the Pittsburgh Steelers. That division to start the season, the AFC North, is a surprise to me because I did not see the Bengals starting 0-3, and I did not see the Pittsburgh Steelers starting 3-0. And let me just throw this out there. Could it be that Justin Fields is saving Mike Tomlin's job? Because I talked about Mike Tomlin possibly being a dark horse for a coach that was on the hot seat this season. But it seems like the Pittsburgh Steelers, like I said, is a team that's in this new era of football, but still got their foot in the old era of football. I said they need to get more offensive. They need to get more explosive especially when they got a guy like George Pickens. And I think them having an athletic quarterback like Justin Fields with an arm, I think that now is helping the case to keep Mike Tomlin, in my opinion, because you probably wouldn't even seen this if you had Russell Wilson. So it might be a blessing in disguise that Russell Wilson did suffer injury Now, I don't want nobody to get hurt, but it might be a blessing in disguise that they were able to go with Justin Fields instead of Russell Wilson. And they've been rolling with Fields since, and as a result, they 3-0. So, and Justin Fields now seems to be in an area where he feels comfortable. So I think that may be helping out, saving Mike Tomlin to some degree, because even though Mike Tomlin hasn't had a losing season since he's been there, but they haven't been playing up to Pittsburgh standard football either. Especially when you're looking at Cincinnati, who's in that division that has been to a Super Bowl more recently than the Pittsburgh Steelers. But back to these games. What was that? 49ers, Rams. Two banged up teams. The Rams, like I said, I took the Rams to win this one only because they were at home. Both teams banged up. No Debo, no McCaffrey. If you're looking at the Rams, Puka Nacua banged up, Kupp banged up. You just got guys banged up all over the place on both teams. San Francisco suffering back-to-back losses, so that falls them to drop them to 1-2. They won opening week 1 against the Jets, and then they fell at Minnesota, and now they fell at the LA Rams this week. So back-to-back losses for the 49ers. I think of it's just injuries. It's got a lot to do with that. No Debo, no McCaffrey. Those are two big pieces for those guys. The Rams, they're also suffering injury, but they were able to pull out a win. Suffering injuries, they were able to pull out a win. Both of them teams banged up. But, I think the surprise team in that division, in my opinion, right now is Seattle. And I'm going to get to Seattle in a second. But the Rams and the Cardinals, Detroit coming out 2017, I think if you Detroit, you had to have this win, especially coming off last week's loss against the Tampa Bay Bucks at home. So you had to go on the road and redeem yourself against the Arizona Cardinals. Jared Goff, 18 of 23, 199 yards. Like I said, a lot of these quarterbacks to start this season so far are not wowing you. You know what I mean? You would expect Jared Goff to pass for more than 200 yards. He had 2 TDs a pick and he was sacked twice. Now, David Montgomery had 105 yards rushing in a TD. Jamar Gibbs, 83. So you had 2 backs, one back over 100 and another one was about 20 yards out from being 100. So what you didn't do through the air with Jared Goff, you made up on the ground between David Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs. But if you're Arizona, 21 to 34, 207 yards of Kyler Murray. I mean, you threw the ball 34 times and you only ended up with 207 yards, a TD, a pick, and you got sacked once. Marvin Harrison had 11 targets, but he only had 5 receptions, 64 yards, and a TD. So it's a good thing that they're looking at Marvin Harrison, looking his way, looking to get him the ball with 11 targets, but he only caught 5 of them for 64 yards. But like I said, if you Detroit, that's a way to bounce back coming off of last week's loss at home against Tampa and go on the road to Arizona to win this one. Good bounce back for the good bounce back for the Detroit Lions. Dolphins, Seahawks. Of course, Dolphins had no Tua and Skylar Thompson. He ended up getting hurt in that game. Seattle took care of business 24-3, as I thought they would. Miami making that trip all the way from Miami all the way up to the Pacific North in Seattle. Seattle, like I said, man, Seattle, if you're looking at the division, Seattle was that team that's right there in the middle that's not getting enough talk because you got the people talking more about the Rams and they talking more about the 49ers. But both of those teams are banged up. So that's that one team that when those 2 teams are up here and they start to slide down, Seattle is right here ready to jump over. Defensively, damn good team defensively, and they ain't bad offensively with DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett, Jackson Smith and Jigma, Kenneth Walker when he's out there, Noah Fant, the tight end. So they ain't in Geno Smith. They ain't bad offensively at all, by no means. They're not bad. And defensively, I think they just now starting to – they ain't even scratched the surface defensively. New head coach Mike McDonald over there, Byron Murphy up front, Witherspoon. I can't think of the other corner. Damn it, I can't think of the other guy. But they good. That's a good team. They just not getting enough talk because everybody talking about the 49ers and the Rams ahead of them. But that team is right there. As soon as one of those or both of those teams start to slide, which they are, Seattle is right there ready to jump. And I told y'all about that when I was giving y'all my division picks, division winner picks. But they right there to jump over those teams in that division. And they sitting 3-0. You know, week 1 beating Denver, then coming back going on the road, having an overtime win against New England, then coming back this week taking advantage of Mike McDaniels and the Miami Dolphins with no Tua and then Skylar Thompson. He didn't finish the game. So giving up only 3 points, taking care of business. Seattle over Miami 24-3. The Bears at the Colts. Colts took that one 21-16. Taking a look at Caleb Williams, it was 33 of 52, 363 yards, 2 TDs, 2 picks, and he got sacked 4 times. That's a lot of throwing for a rookie. 52 attempts here, that's a lot of throwing for any quarterback, let alone a rookie. Any damn quarterback with 52 pass attempts. Roman Dunze, 11 targets. He had 6 receptions, 112 yards, and a TD. Cole Kmet, 11 targets. He had 10 receptions, 97 yards, and a TD. DJ Moore had 10 targets, 8 receptions, 78 yards. Looking at the ground game, DeAndre Swift, 13 attempts for 20 yards. You got to get the ground game going if you're Chicago. Now, I've heard people say that they should have, and I thought about it too. If you're looking at the Chicago Bears, they had the first overall pick, and I think they had the 9th pick. Do you think that they should have just kept Justin Fields, and with those 2 picks, one being the first overall pick, one being the 9th overall pick, they probably could have traded back with that first pick, picked up more assets, picked up offensive linemen because it looked like they need offensive line help here to start the season. And then, or still got Rome Medusa at 9. You had options if you were the Chicago Bears, but you elected to go with Caleb Williams with the first overall pick. You're looking at what Justin Fields is doing in Pittsburgh. Now, I'm not saying that he was going to be able to do that in Chicago because a lot of times what happens is a player leaves, especially a quarterback, leaves one system or one team, goes to another one, gets with another system, and it just works out. But do you think if they had just not drafted Caleb Williams, took that first pick, traded back, got offensive line help because Joe Alt would have been there. J.C. Latham from Bama, got one of those offensive linemen to help shoe up that offensive line to some degree because I'm not expecting a rookie to come in and fix an entire offensive line, but it would have helped. And, got Rome Medusa, or do you think they could have just traded back and still somehow got a Marvin Harrison somewhere? Even though he went 4th overall to the Arizona Cardinals. But they had options. I'm just throwing out what people are saying about the first 3 weeks of Caleb Williams' play, minus this week's game because he had 363 yards passing, 2 TDs, and he was picked twice and he was sacked 4 times. But it took him 52 pass attempts to do it. That's a lot of pass attempts, especially for a rookie. Well, hell, there's a lot of pass attempts in general. But you look at Anthony Richards, he was 10 of 20, 50% of he completed 50% of his passes. He was 10 of 20, 167 yards. He didn't throw for a TD. He was picked twice and he was sacked once. Jonathan Taylor, 23 attempts, 110 yards, rushing 2 TDs. I think what's going on here is just Anthony Richardson just doesn't have a lot of experience going back to his college days. So what he's going through now is he's just starting to try to get his feet wet. Last year he had season-ending injury. So they sat him out. He missed the season. He played, some games, but then he suffered an injury, and it was season-ending injury. Factor in the limited amount of games he played at Florida. Now coming into this season, they picked up the win, but coming into this season, he's still just trying to work his way back in. So it's damn near like he's in a rookie season because the games he played last year combined with the amount of games he played so far this year, it ain't even equaled up to a half a season. It's equaled up to about a half a season. So in 2 years in the NFL, he's only had about a half a season body of work combined with the limited body of work that he had at Florida. So I think that's what's going on with the quarterback situation there. But they did pick up the win 21-16 over Chicago. I didn't see this one coming. Houston going to Minnesota, getting the hell beat out of them. I actually picked Houston to win a close game here. But not Andy Dalton, but Sam Darnold continues to play well. You look at Sam Darnold, 17 of 28, 181 yards, 4 TDs, and he was sacked 4 times, but he didn't throw a pick. So Aaron Jones, 19 attempts, 102 yards on the ground. Justin Jefferson, 6 receptions, 81 yards. Aaron Jones had 546. So this looked like more as a defensive thing for Minnesota, because 181 yards, that's not lights out. It's not wowing you. Aaron Jones, even though he had 100 yards on the ground, 19 attempts. But this was more of a defensive performance by Minnesota, and them doing just enough on the offense, combined with how dominant they was on defense this game. CJ Stroud, 20 of 31, 215 yards, a TD and 2 interceptions. He was sacked 4 times. You would definitely take that. Any defense would definitely take that, knowing the offensive weapons that they have and the capabilities of CJ Stroud down there in Houston with DeMeco Ryans and that defense and what they bring. So you definitely would take that if you're an opposing defense of Houston. Cam Akers, 9 attempts, 21 yards rushing. CJ Stroud, 3 attempts, 12 yards. Stephon Diggs did have 12 targets. He had 10 receptions, 94 yards. Nico Collins, 4 receptions, 86 yards. Tank Dell, 5 receptions, 62 yards. So, yeah, you definitely would take that if you are the Minnesota Vikings. Now, a lot of that was coming from the fact that they were down, and Minnesota was giving them underneath stuff. But, if you are Minnesota, you continuing to roll. If you're Minnesota, you are undefeated. You sitting at the top of that division right now, undefeated. Winning week 1 at New York, beating San Francisco at home last week, and then coming back and beating a good Houston team. So that's back-to-back good wins if you are the Minnesota Vikings at home against Houston and San Francisco, despite San Francisco being banged up. But you came back with another stellar performance, beat Houston at home. Not only beat them, but you put up 34 on them. So Minnesota, you got momentum to start this season, 3-0, sitting at the top of the division. And that was a damn good win over a good team in Houston. The New York Giants beat the Cleveland Browns 21-15. I didn't see that coming either. But looking at it, Daniel Jones, 24-34, 236 yards. Pretty solid performance there. Can't say nothing bad about that. 2 TDs, no picks, and he was sacked twice. Not bad at all. Can't say nothing about that. Malik Neighbors, 12 targets. He had 8 receptions, 78 yards, and 2 TDs. But if you Cleveland, what the hell is going on if you Cleveland? Deshaun Watson, 21-37, 196 yards. Again, you had 37 pass attempts, only 196 yards pass and 2 TDs. You didn't get you didn't throw a pick, but you got sacked 8 times. What the hell is going on if you are the Cleveland Browns? I understand you still missing Nick Chubb, but Amari Cooper, 7 receptions, 86 yards on 12 targets. He did have 2 TDs. Jerry Jeudy, 4 receptions, 27 yards. Elijah Moore, 2 receptions, 17 yards. What the hell is going on if you are the Cleveland Browns? You got the hell beat out your week 1 by Dallas, and then you go down and take care of the Jacksonville Jaguars last week, and then you come back this week and just lose to the New York Giants. I don't know. I really don't know, man, what the hell is going on with Cleveland. Well, first of all, it's going to start with the quarterback player, Deshaun Watson. He's not looked good to start this season. And a lot of it got to do with these allegations and shit that's going on. He ain't been right since all these allegations with all these women came out. So you got a lot of that shit going on. Combined with you don't really have that Nick Chubb run game to kind of help balance and help you out offensively. But defensively, I really don't know. I don't know. Are they banged up? I know David Njoku, the tight end. I know he banged up. He hurt. But if you Cleveland, you gotta get this shit together. Especially with the type of money you paying this Deshaun Watson. And I think that's what's going on. It starts with Deshaun Watson. I think Deshaun Watson hasn't been playing Deshaun Watson like football, and as a result, it's compromising Cleveland to some degree. And like I said, a lot of that's got to do with a lot of stuff he got going on with females and all these allegations and all this other shit going on. I get all that. But if you Cleveland, looking at the roster that you put together and the defense that you have, you shouldn't be losing these games, especially to the New York Giants, a team that you are better than and you are capable of beating, and you didn't. But instead, you go out and let Daniel Jones outperform Deshaun Watson, which is crazy. But New York Giants went on the road, got the victory 21-15 in Cleveland. Eagles Saints, another close one. I thought the Saints was gonna win this one, but the Eagles came out on top 15-12. No AJ Brown for the Philadelphia Eagles. I think Devontae Smith, he suffered an injury, concussion, I believe it was. If I'm not mistaken, I think it was something like that. And then they had a nasty incident or nasty footage of a Saints player. I don't know if he spit at Devontae Smith when Devontae Smith was down on the ground injured, and he got up, and you can clearly see him spit through his face mask. I didn't see where the spit landed on Devontae Smith or it landed near Devontae Smith, or he would just spit. I don't know, but spit did see it emerge out of his mouth in the direction of Devontae Smith. Whether it landed on him or near him, I don't know. But spit came out of his mouth towards Devontae Smith. Now I'm not sure if the NFL is gonna take a look at that. But that's some nasty shit, man. I don't give a damn if the player's injured or not. You don't spit. I mean, you don't spit at nobody. I'm surprised nobody came up swinging on this dude. Because they were on the field when it happened. I seen video footage. I wasn't there. I just seen the video footage. But guys that were actually on the field around that play when it happened and he got up and they seen that, I'm surprised nobody tackled this dude, swung on this dude. It's just some shit that you don't let fly. And I'm quite sure if somebody did swing on this dude or whatever, it would be some consequences because it would have been a scuffle. But I don't think nobody's going to swing on nobody for no reason. So that would have probably prompted the NFL to look into what actually jump-started this altercation. If they look at it, the footage, especially the same footage I saw, they will see spit coming from this guy's mouth. So that then would have opened up an investigation for some suspensions or whatever. But that was just some nasty shit. You know what I'm saying? It couldn't have been me. My teammate or whatever. We would have just been out there brawling. So it would have been what it would have been. But if you the Eagles, you went on the road, took care of business 15-10. Jalen Hurts 29-38, 311 yards, a pick, and he got sacked 4 times. Saquon Barkley is looking damn good to start this season. 17 attempts, 147 rushing yards, 2 TDs. Dallas Goedert, 10 receptions, 170 yards on 11 targets. Devontae Smith had 7 receptions on 10 targets for 79 yards. So if you Philly, I had the Saints winning this game, especially after Philly lost that game last week to Atlanta in the way that they lost it. They came out and responded much better, holding the Saints to 12 points. And the Saints is a team who in their first 2 games of the season scored 44 plus points, 44 against Dallas, and then 47 week 1 against Carolina. The Saints, Derek Carr, he kind of cooled off this game, 14 of 25, 142 yards. He had a TD, a pick, and he got sacked once. Alvin Kamara, 26 rush attempts, 87 yards. Chris Olave, 6 receptions, 86 yards. Alvin Kamara, 3 receptions, 40 yards. So they cooled off offensively this week at home against the Philadelphia Eagles. Like I said, I had the Saints winning this game, but the Eagles went on the road, pulled this game out. They needed this game, especially how they lost that game last week to the Saints. And I didn't think the Saints were going to go another week scoring 40 points. But I did think that they were going to do enough to win this game, coming back home, playing the Eagles, a defense in which I said had secondary issues, a defense I said which had trouble stopping the run up front. Looking at how they performed and played that last against the Falcons last Monday night. So kudos to Philly for going on the road against a good Saints team and responding the way they responded, coming out of the win based off of how they lost that game against the Falcons. So Eagles, good win on the road. Packers, Titans, Green Bay taking care of Tennessee 30-14. Like I said, man, Tennessee is finding out that Will Levis is not going to be the guy moving forward for them. Malik Willis gets the start for Green Bay playing against his former team, 13-19, 202 yards, a TD. He was sacked 3 times. He also had 6 rush attempts for 73 yards and a TD. Tennessee, Will Levis, 26-34, 260 yards, 2 TDs and 2 picks, and he got sacked 8 times. Tony Pollard, 6 attempts, 14 yards. DeAndre Hopkins, 6 receptions, 73 yards. Tennessee, Green Bay put on a damn good defensive performance that game, and I thought that's what they was gonna do. They weren't gonna ask Malik Willis to do too much. They were just gonna ask Malik Willis to do what he was asked to do, and get back by that Packer defense. I think Green Bay knew that they were going to beat Tennessee based off first 2 weeks performance by Will Levis. Knowing that Green Bay defense, which picked off Will Levis twice and sacked him 8 times, that's what they were going to do going into this game to Will Levis. They were going to play damn good defense and just ask Malik Willis to do, not too much, and then they came out with the win 30-14. Moving on, we got the Broncos that went on the road and beat the Bucs. Something else I didn't see. I didn't think that Denver was going to go on the road and beat Tampa 26-8. Bo Nix, 25 of 36, 216 yards. No TDs, no sacks, no picks. I think that was the most important stat for Bo Nix. He didn't get sacked. He didn't throw a pick, even though he didn't throw a TD either. They put up 26 points without him throwing a touchdown. I think that's good to know if you're a rookie quarterback that you didn't get sacked, you didn't throw a pick, and you don't feel good about not throwing a TD if you're a quarterback. But when you don't get picked, when you don't throw a pick and you don't get sacked, I think that kind of overrides the fact that you didn't throw a touchdown and you still won the game, 26-7. Defensively, Denver played well, only giving up 7 points. Cortland Sutton, 7 receptions, 68 yards, 11 targets for Sutton. I think Cortland Sutton could be a much better receiver. I think he's just being held back by having a rookie QB. And that's not talking bad about Bo Nix, but a lot of times that's what it is when you got receivers like Cortland Sutton. You're not going to see a whole lot out of them that you should see and expect to see out of them because they're being limited to some degree by a rookie quarterback play. And I think that's what's going on in Denver with Cortland Sutton. But if you Tampa, Baker Mayfield, 25 of 33, 163 yards. He had a TD, a pick, and he was sacked 7 times. So defensively up front, Denver did the job getting Baker Mayfield 7 times. Then the back end of that defense, spearheaded by Pat Surtain, was well in coverage. It was also good in coverage as Godwin only had 6 receptions, 53 yards, and Mike Evans 2 receptions, 17 yards. I know Mike Evans didn't have a good game. I got him on my fantasy team, and he wouldn't give me a damn thing. I had him in my starting lineup too. Even though I won my matchup this week, I didn't get a damn thing for Mike Evans, and that's how I knew that Denver was doing some good things damn good things defensively. On the road at Tampa, as I picked Tampa to win this game, but obviously Denver went on the road, took care of business 27-6 against Tampa. Chargers, Steelers. I had picked Pittsburgh to win this game, as you know, and they did come out 20-10 win. I just thought it was going to be tough for back-to-back weeks to make cross-country trips. Last week, the LA Chargers was in Carolina. This week, they're in Pittsburgh. I just thought it was going to be tough to make back-to-back trips right now. If they stayed on the East Coast all week, I don't know. But back-to-back cross-country trips, Charlotte to LA, then LA back to Pittsburgh. I mean, LA to Charlotte, then Charlotte back to LA, LA to Pittsburgh, then Pittsburgh back. That's tough cross-country. But like I said, right now, Justin Fields is playing good ball. Justin Herbert was 12 of 18, 125 yards. He was sacked twice, and he had a TD. J.K. Dobbins, 15 attempts, 44 yards. Taylor Heineke had to come in 2 of 2, 24 yards or whatever. But back to Pittsburgh. Justin Fields, 25 of 32, 245 yards, a TD, a pick, and sacked twice. Najee Harris, 18 attempts, 70 yards. George Pickens, 5 attempts, 57 yards. That's what I was asking earlier in the show, in the episode, about Justin Fields possibly saving Mike Tomlin's job, because I thought that Mike Tomlin coming into this season, looking at him, you know the old saying, if you got 2 quarterbacks, you ain't got one. And that's exactly what they came into the situation with. So it kind of, back to what I was saying, was a blessing in disguise that Justin Fields had to take over, because Justin Fields is a more, in my opinion, more athletic quarterback than Russell Wilson. Even though Russell Wilson has the experience, he has Super Bowl experience. So he does come from more of an experienced side of being a quarterback. But Justin Fields, in my opinion, fits where the NFL is going with these quarterbacks. You know, and I think that's what Pittsburgh need to be. Pittsburgh is one of them teams, in my opinion, since Big Ben, they haven't been able to find their way fully into this new era of the NFL and where it's going. They kind of got one foot in it and one foot still trailing of what football used to be. And I think, like I said, with George Pickens, they need to get more explosive on the offensive side of the ball. Pittsburgh is known for good defense. They're known for that. But I think with this era of the NFL, they need to get more offensive. They need to get more explosive. And I didn't think that Mike Tomlin had those capabilities, even though they still haven't had a losing season under Mike Tomlin. You can kind of see they need to get more explosive, more offensive. And now they have a quarterback that can do that. I don't think Justin Fields is a bad quarterback. I think Justin Fields was just in a bad situation in Chicago. He's now seen to be in a situation where he's playing much better in Pittsburgh than he played in Chicago. He's that quarterback that's mobile, athletic, and that's the kind of quarterback that, in my opinion, Pittsburgh needs. So with them starting 3-0, it's still a lot of football left to play during this season. But I think that this is something that could kind of save Mike Tomlin, to so to speak. They couldn't go into this season and go 9-8 and and miss the playoffs, or if they did make the playoffs somehow, get bounced in the first round. They needed to get more modernized in the NFL. You know what I mean? The Mason Rudolph, that didn't work. Kenny Pickett, that didn't work. So and like I said, you brought in two quarterbacks who are basically going to be free agents at the end of this season. So they're lucky that Justin Fields is playing the way he's playing, because if he wasn't playing the way he's playing and Russell Wilson ain't performing, then both of those guys were going to be out as free agents. And I don't think that Pittsburgh Steelers were going to re-sign either one of them. They were going to go into the draft looking to get a quarterback, and they were going to be banking and hoping that a rookie quarterback can come in and steer the ship and get them a little bit more explosive and dynamic on offense. But Justin Fields, playing the way he's playing, if he continues this throughout the season, he will get re-signed and be the quarterback moving forward for the Pittsburgh Steelers. And Mike Tomlin will keep his job if this happens, combined with the fact of how they continue to play solid, stout defense. That's what I think in Pittsburgh. So that's where I was at with Pittsburgh. But since Justin Fields is playing the way he's playing, there might have been a blessing in disguise that Russell Wilson couldn't go week one. And, they went on the road, beat Atlanta, went on the road, beat Denver, and then, they had their first home game against the Chargers. Now they're sitting 3-0 at the top of the division. But that's week 3 NFL recap, man. We got some pretty solid week 4 games coming up. We just recapping week 3 of what took place, what happened. That's just my opinion. Like I said, man, I'm just telling it to you from an opinion that a lot of people won't. Make sure you head over to YouTube, subscribe to the content, hit that notification bell so you get notified when new content drop. Head over to the sports page on Instagram is damn_U2_sports talk. Click the link in the bio. You can subscribe that way. If you want to follow me on Instagram personally, it's Ralph_Sneaks. Head over to Twitter, or X, should I say X? I don't know why I keep saying Twitter, but X is damn U2 sports talk over there. Follow, I follow back. And just make sure y'all stay tuned into the content, man. Subscribe. I'm gonna keep bringing y'all this uncensored content. Just subscribe and stay tuned. Until the next episode, man. I'm out. Peace.